Better get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue.
Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is currently on the air. Now, while I get the charcoals hot on tonight's barbecue of this African who basically unsubbed from my channel, I'm gonna go and give a bit of, I'm gonna let everybody know about a Kickstarter that's going on from comic artist Nick Capone. Now, Nick Capone is a great artist and he has a great series called Purity, and I've bought the first 3 issues and I really enjoyed the writing on Purity. I mean, Nick is a very solid storyteller and a really great artist and a great guy. And I want to help him get his Kickstarter funded and really start making some serious money. So I'm going to leave a link to Purity number 4 in the chat so you guys can go over and head over and pick up that Kickstarter 4th issue and basically start picking up this great series. So that's one of the things I'm putting in the chat because I really, again, I don't just talk about comics. I want to see great comic creators actualize their potential in this marketplace. And the only way we can do that is by getting the word out about their books. So I'm asking everybody to head over to Kickstarter and pick up a copy of Nick Capone's Purity number 4, along with the first 3 issues if you haven't picked it up. I mean, Nick's storytelling is just like manga, and it's just a fun overall series. And in addition to talking about books like Nick Capone's Purity, I also wanted to talk about the upcoming SJS Direct 2026 catalog. And as I talk about the SJS Direct 2026 catalog, I want you guys to get a look at the first book that's coming out in the SJS Direct 2026 catalog, the cover for John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. Now, I just got this cover from comic artist Des Taylor, who does fantastic art of DC and Marvel superheroes, and I asked him to do a commission for a cover for the second time because the first time I had Des Taylor do a cover, it was for Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, and he did the cover for that book, and the art on that one was fantastic, and I wanted him to come back and do another cover for me, and he basically knocked it out of the park as related to the both covers with Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer and the cover for the John Haynes An Offer He Can't Refuse. So I was really happy with all the work he did on the John Haynes cover, and I'm asking everybody, to go out here because the John Haynes An Offer He Can't Refuse, this book will be coming out on March 27th in paperback and Kindle. And you can go out here and put in a pre-order for John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. You can put in a pre-order by clicking the link in the chat. So the SJS Direct 2026 catalog is kicking off with John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse, and I'll be going hard in the campaign for that book starting next week. And I'm really blessed to be able to do that coming off a heart attack. So I'm really glad to be out here and be able to get books out here for you. And I'm trying to continue to improve the quality of those books by working with people like Des Taylor, again, great artist from the UK, and I'm hoping I can continue to improve the quality of all the books on SJS Direct. Now, in addition to going out here and creating the cover for the John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse, Des Taylor also produced a brand new logo for the SJS Direct publishing imprint, and this is the new logo that will be featured on all of the 2026 books this year and will be featured on all the books going forward. And again, I'm hoping you guys will put in a pre-order for the digital versions. And I really would love to see you guys go and get the paperback version so you can check out Des Taylor's art in on paper, because his art really pops. And I really want you guys, again, to check out those books that are coming out this year. And I'm hoping that you guys will, again, be here for those books. Now, with all that perfunctory basically said, as related to everything, what I am going to get into is a letter that I got in an email from an African viewer who said that they wanted to unsub my channel. Now, this viewer was a regular donor to the channel and wanted to know more about America and wanted to talk about having relations with Black Americans, until I went out here and made a video this week, which basically was talking about the whole situation as related to these three foreign-born teenagers who went out here and attacked and SA'd a 12-year-old girl. Now, in that video's title, I basically called these three teen terrors, tethers, and that's the thing that got this viewer so upset that they basically fired off a very, very disturbing email to me. And that basically showed me a real serious problem as related to this guy, as related to the issues he's having. And I'm going to share this letter that this viewer went out here and sent me as related to everything. I'm going to post the image file again of this letter so that you guys can basically see the letter that I got. So I'm going to show the letter up on screen, and I'm going to go out here and deconstruct this letter all throughout tonight's live stream. Now, the letter I received, this guy basically starts out by saying, "I have just unsubscribed your channel, and I will tell you in detail why." And that basically right there tells me there is an issue as related to this viewer, because again, when it comes down to grown men don't go out here and write someone to tell them they're going to unsubscribe them. No, they just keep it moving, and that's just basically it. I mean, if you don't agree with the opinions of someone on their channel, you basically just go out here, you just basically walk away and call it a day. I mean, I remember many years ago, there was a goth channel I was watching, and the person said that they were a Satanist, and that basically was enough for me to go out here and say, okay, I hear this person is a Satanist, and I myself am a believer of Jesus, so I'm going to go out here. I'm not going to go out here and announce anything. No, I'm just going to stop watching the content and basically keep it pushing. That's what, again, grown men go out here and do. But guys who basically are a bit suspect as related to their behavior and are, I would say, a bit effeminate, they will go out here and look to go out here and orchestrate a melodramatic statement, going out here, writing off a long letter saying, oh, I'm going to unsub your channel. And that's one of the most, again, bitch-made things I have ever seen grown men go out here and do. Again, grown men, when things are not people you don't agree with, you basically just keep it pushing. I mean, there are TV shows I didn't like. I didn't like the Drew Carey show after I think the third season, decided to just charge that to the game. Xeno Warrior Princess, when they started getting to be a little weird with the baby and the other stuff, decided, I'm not going to watch that anymore and just call it a day. But this guy basically, again, is showing the same type of behavior that, again, effeminate guys go out here and do, writing a guy a letter that's all wordy, talking about why you're unsubbing a channel. And that's not what men go out here and do. That's what very dysfunctional males go out here and do, because they're caught up in their feelings. Now, as he goes on in this letter, he goes on to say, I have been a minority in this country. My ancestors were Black Americans who fled Jim Crow and moved to Africa. My parents came here and experienced racial discrimination from both white and Black Americans. And I gotta say, as a foundational Black American, yeah, I myself have experienced racial discrimination from many whites and non-Blacks. And I don't go out here and see it as me being, again, trying to keep up with some sort of, using it as some sort of victim problem. I mean, I've dealt with racism from whites and non-Blacks, and I've also dealt with issues as related to class from upper class Blacks, and dealt with people from ghetto classes, again, looking to come after me. And again, this is just something that's just part of life for everybody who is Black. But this guy basically, again, just took it offense, all because I did a video, again, calling these teenagers tethers. And that's something that I called those teenagers because those teenagers were not foundational Black Americans who attacked that 12-year-old girl in Miami. No, it wasn't foundational Black Americans who went out here and, again, went out here and attacked a 12-year-old girl, and went out here and attacked her and took her to a community garden, stuffed rocks in her mouth as they assaulted her. No, that wasn't foundational Black Americans. And basically, those boys went out here and participated in that type of deviant sexual violence because they knew they could go out here and use foundational Black Americans as a cover and use foundational Black Americans to go out here and be the scapegoat of their crime. They could go out here and participate in this crime because they knew they would have that cover as related to going out here and participating in these crimes, because the mainstream media, what they would do is not go out here and delineate between these people who did immigrate to this country, who were Black and foundational Black Americans. But this guy goes out here and takes offense because I go out here and in that video go out here and delineate as related to these individuals who basically participated in this heinous crime and look to, again, use foundational Black Americans as a way to go out here and get away with that crime. Because what a lot of foreign-born Blacks do is, in some cases, go out here and commit crimes, and then it's us foundational Black Americans. We're the ones who have to go out here and be the community that is seen as the face of sexual predation. We're the ones basically seen as the criminals as related to these narratives of sexual predation. And that's ever been since the days of the antebellum South, where whites have gone out here and presented this false narrative of the Black brute and talking about how this Black brute lusts after women. That's what many people believe about Black people. And what is happening here with the case of these juvenile delinquents was they were out here committing this crime and hoping to use foundational Black Americans as a cover for their crime. And that's the thing that basically got this African viewer upset, was the fact that I called these teenage monsters Tethers. And as he got upset about this, then wanted to go out here and show how racist they were, because as the letter goes on, he goes, "You did a video calling Tethers teenagers. First, that's a racial slur created by a high school dropout who says racist statements, Tariq Nasheed." Now, I cannot substantiate what Tariq Nasheed's education is, but when it comes down to the term tether, I don't know if he's the one who created it. But what is happening here is that with foundational Black Americans, we have been delineating from many of these groups, and many of these groups basically are getting upset, and they're getting upset. And it's really like Professor Black Truth talked about this delineation being like truth serum. I mean, when it comes down to many of these individuals, yeah, they only want to be Black when they get the benefits from the Black community. But when we start delineating, that's when these folks get upset, because there's no way they can cover under us and basically go out here and play their games as related to us. Now, this guy, again, wants to talk about Tariq Nasheed, but many of us basically, again, have been hearing this term tether, not only from Tariq Nasheed, we've also heard it from guys like Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, and many others. And as this guy goes on in his letter, this is where he shows his racism, talks about the fact that Black Americans commit most of the crimes and committed by Black people, even though they were scapegoating the Somali community about welfare, when it's a statistical fact that most immigrants commit less crime than native-born Americans. And I gotta call BS on that statement. Now, when it comes down to the actual FBI statistics, it says that Black people are not the ones who commit most of the crimes, but this guy basically shows how racist he actually is as related to his perception of Black people, that one foundational Black American man can go out here and just post a video talking about 3 sexual predators, and he gets upset. And as he gets upset, goes into this whole racist rant, talking on white supremacist talking points, where he says, oh, the fact is Black Americans commit most of the crimes, and most of the crimes are committed by Black people. I mean, this is him basically going out here and saying, oh, it's the Black people who commits the crimes. No, when we look at the federal FBI statistics, no, it's not Black people committing most of the crime, because Black people are not the ones committing most of the crime. No, according to the FBI statistics, most of the crime in the United States is committed by white people, and mostly committed by white males. It's usually white males who commit most of the violent crimes and commit the more violent crimes, like the sex crimes and the crimes that like going out here, like the participating in deviant stuff, like again, pedophilia and other sorts of crimes. That's mostly white folks doing that stuff. And when it comes down to robberies and shoplifting, it's that white female who commits that crime in the largest numbers. But this guy basically is so in his feelings that he goes out here and looks to try to talk about, oh, these old racist stereotypes, talks about these old racist stereotypes, because one of the things racists and white supremacists love to do is project the narrative, oh, it's the Black people committing most of the crimes, and then wants to talk about how they were scapegoating the Somali community as related to welfare fraud. No, when it came down to the Somali community that Donald Trump was calling out, they basically were being helped out by many white folks, because as they were doing that whole story about those welfare frauds, they basically found out there was a lot of white people basically helping those Somalis commit that welfare fraud in Minnesota. It was mostly, again, white folks, again, who were the ones who helped out with the paperwork as related to that fraud. But thanks for showing us all the racist you actually are, again, as related to buying into many of these stories that the white supremacist tells. Now, as he wanted to go out here and say a statistical fact that most immigrants and their children commit less crime than both native born Americans, I got to call BS on that. No, it's not. When it comes down to many of these so-called migrants, you need to go watch your Paul Joseph Watson. I mean, he goes in depth, basically attacking many of these migrants in Africa, in Europe, and other European countries. And he basically takes these folks to the barbecue as related to many of the crimes they commit in those European countries. And when it comes down to a lot of those immigrants and their children, yeah, they be committing some crimes here in this country by one, entering the country illegally, and then being again enabled by many employers who want to go out here and hire them as cheap labor over foundational Black Americans, allowing them to leapfrog into the middle class that many of us foundational Black Americans can't get into, because when it comes down to these racists basically buy into the narratives of white supremacy about Black people. And as they buy into those narratives, they basically become gatekeepers for white supremacy to keep Black people out. All the while, those same white supremacists that they basically are supporting basically keep many Black people poor, because they are the ones who, as they get into the middle class, keep many of us foundational Black Americans from being able to get jobs and being able to live a middle class lifestyle. I mean, one of the reasons why I have been out of work for 18 years is because when it comes down to these white supremacists, again, what they do is they go find themselves a illegal, or they find themselves one of these foreign-born Blacks and hire them and create them as a buffer class, hire them to be a buffer class, and they'll get the jobs. They'll be able to, again, live a middle-class lifestyle. Meanwhile, foundational Black Americans, we're not the ones who are allowed to have the jobs or be a part of the middle class. And as these people assimilate into society, they basically, again, think that they're better than Black people because they've bought into all these stereotypes, not seeing how the white supremacist is, again, using them towards pushing their agenda so that they can have their smooth world where they don't have to compete with actual Black people. Now, after saying that, most of these immigrants commit less crimes than native-born Americans, which is complete BS, many of these, because again, when it comes down to these immigrants, again, a lot of them do commit crimes, and they're basically, again, a part of different criminal organizations. But this guy, again, wants to go into this racist rant where he also talks about the reality is most Black Americans' racism and other groups, instead of taking personal responsibility for their situation. No, we deal with racism every day in this country as foundational Black Americans, and we are well aware of this system of white supremacy. We're well aware of the system of white supremacy as it looks to manipulate people. And sadly, when it comes down to many people who come from other countries who are born Black, they don't really understand the subtle politics transpiring around them. And as they don't understand the subtle politics transpiring around them, they don't even know that when it comes to these white supremacists go out here and are playing a game of chess where they are basically getting 7, 8, maybe 9 steps ahead of them, because they basically created the culture of anti-Black racism. And like Professor Black Truth has said, the foundation for everything as related to white supremacy is anti-Black racism. So when it comes down to Black people, we do take responsibility for everything in our life. I mean, we can only take responsibility up to a point, but when people basically who are not Black are the ones controlling the economy and controlling the allocation of resources, there's only so much we can do. And when those people also control the media and control what we see and think about Black people, that basically controls people's perception of self. That's something I went in depth on in my novel Spellbound, because a lot of people wind up getting spellbound as related to believing the ideas about Black people. And that's what leads to a lot of Black people looking to fit themselves into Black boxes that are acceptable to white people. And when it comes down to foreign born Blacks, they also look to fit themselves into those same Black boxes that are acceptable to white people. And as they're looking to fit themselves into those boxes, they don't see how the white supremacist is manipulating them as related to their identity to mold it and shape it into something where they are living in a place that makes the world smooth for most of these racists, where they can feel like this person is in their place. This person will not compete against me. This person will not challenge me. And again, they don't want Black people to really start to, again, take real responsibility, because if we come out of the codependency and start really competing with them like our ancestors did in places like Rosewood and Black Wall Street, we will start thriving. Same thing we're doing as related to the NBA, same thing we did with boxing, same thing that we're even doing right now with WWE, where most of the big upcoming stars like Trick Williams and Ricky Saints and many others are prominently Black. I mean, when we come into a field, again, we dominate that field. And that's the thing that many of these folks, whether they be these white supremacists, these non-Blacks, or these Africans, get scared. They get scared of Black competition, and they get scared of Black people being dominant. And if we really took responsibility for the situation, like the viewer wants to say, I mean, this country's white supremacy problem would be dealt with, because basically these guys couldn't compete at all. No, they couldn't compete at all. And as he goes and makes this statement, he talks about how he's lived in South Florida for over 23 years in racist Ron DeSantis territory, and talks about how all the Black-owned businesses are owned by Haitians and Caribbeans and especially Jamaicans, and wants to go and say that Black Americans say all type of racist and xenophobic things about Black immigrants. No, when it comes down to most of the foundational Black Americans, a lot of us, we won't really say too much. I mean, when it comes down to these folks, they're the ones who come up with these generalizations from what I've seen working at places like Food Emporium. I mean, I remember working in a place, Food Emporium, where many of the Africans there, they came up with assumptions that I was one of those lazy guys, because I was trying to bag groceries and I was trying to think as I was doing things, but I was never moving fast enough for those guys, because in their eyes, they basically saw a Black man the same way a white supremacist sees a Black man, in that, oh, the Black man is lazy, the Black man isn't moving fast enough, and the Black man isn't doing enough. That's many of the ideas that many foreign-born Blacks get about foundational Black Americans. They get these ideas from most of this white media, and they basically project that onto us. And when it comes down to many of those foreign-born Blacks who do own businesses, a lot of them basically got that opportunity because, again, they were leapfrogging over Black people, and the white supremacists allowed them to leap over Black people, because what they wanted to do, again, is create a buffer class to be able to control the Black community. And if they have the buffers in place, they can go out here and say, hey, look at that Black person, he's doing well, all the while being disingenuous. Oh, you're saying this Black person did well, but the whole thing is you gave that person an opportunity that you wouldn't give the foundational Black American person. No, you will go out here and tell a lie, go get yourself a buffer, put them in place, give them all the opportunities, then say, oh, the Black person is lazy, the Black person is incompetent. Well, you deny that Black person the actual opportunities. These are the games that white supremacists play with many foreign-born Blacks who don't know the culture, don't know the country. And again, many Black Americans out here, they look at all these guys, again, pointing their nose up at Black people. And they are not out here again saying a lot what they call racist and xenophobic things. No, a lot of black people come up with constructive criticism as related to things. And this guy goes on and says, oh, they say xenophobic things about black immigrants. And it's not really called out because a black immigrant criticizes black Americans. It is a huge problem. No, black immigrants have been attacking black people for many years. I mean, this is something I ran into at the Food Emporium back in 1996. And basically, I know how it goes as related to many of these black immigrants. I know the game as related to some of them. Again, they basically go out here and try to, again, they don't understand what the white supremacist is doing, because the white supremacist game is divide and conquer. His game is going out here to divide and conquer people, and he'll put one up so that he can go out here and get the advantage in the situation. Now, this viewer further goes on to talk about the reason why black American men date and marry out is because of the toxic culture of the black American. No, the black American culture isn't toxic. The black American culture was something that basically is the foundation of this country. Everything that has been driven has become of the true black American culture. And I go in the depth on that in my novel, Spellbound, because the real black American culture, that was what gave us the work ethic, because it was foundational black Americans who built this country. It was foundational black Americans who went out here and did all the hard work. White people did nothing but sit on their ass. No, it was black people who had the work ethic. That's the foundation of this, built this country. And it was black people who created many of the cultural things as related to this country. We were the ones who created jazz. We were the ones who created rock and roll. We were the ones who created soul food. We were the ones who created hip hop. We were the ones who created, again, elevating sports like football and basketball. We were the ones right now elevating pro wrestling. I mean, it's black people who basically were the ones who created the culture, and the toxic culture this viewer wants to talk about, that came from many of the white racists when they would tether themselves to our culture. What would happen is like in the rap game, the original rap game created by foundational black Americans was extremely positive. It was empowering as music. It presented the very best of black people. And then about 1988, that's when most of the white people had finally finished buying up all the record labels. And as they bought up the record labels, they began projecting many of their stereotypes that they have created since the days of the antebellum South in things like gangster rap and things like with the way Luther Campbell, a Jamaican, perverted rap music with his 2 Live crew. Again, that was not foundational black Americans. That was white corporate executives who created the NWA, and straight out of Compton, they were the ones who created the ghetto culture. The ghetto in and of itself is a construct created by white people, because when you look at the actual black culture of neighborhoods like Sugar Hill in Harlem, foundational black Americans made a thriving neighborhood, just like we had Black Wall Street. Again, working class black people owned brownstones and created a thriving black community. But we don't talk about that because the white media doesn't want you to see those thriving black communities like what Sugar Hill once was. Again, the Sugar Hill was a neighborhood of New York's black elite, and our prominent people lived on Strivers Row. I mean, I talk about this in my novel, Spellbound, about how Matilda basically is living in Sugar Hill, one of the greatest black neighborhoods in the history of black history. And we don't know our history or our culture because the mainstream media, what they do is they create a toxic culture, tell us that that's black culture. They do it with shows like Good Times, where they basically showed a black man living in the projects, which was never be allowed to happen because black men, again, you couldn't have a father in the home and be in the projects because the projects were for people on welfare, not working people. but that was meant to fit their narrative. Again, the mainstream media love to go out here and present negative images of black people, and that's their toxic culture. That's not our toxic culture, because whenever foundational black Americans like myself are making the media, you see a completely different story. And I remember, again, growing up in the 1980s, in that golden age of The Cosby Show, growing up with shows like Benson. Again, when we create our own media, it's a completely different story. I mean, go watch Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle. Go watch Spike Lee's early films. Go watch Mario Van Peebles movies. I mean, you'll see from foundational black Americans, our story is completely different than what the white media puts out there. And sadly, when it comes down to a lot of foreign-born blacks, they imbibe mostly the white media's perception of black, and they don't see the real us. No, they don't see the real us. No, they go out here and buy into the toxic culture that's created by white people, and think that that white version of black is the actual version of black, when it's not the case at all. No, the actual black culture, I mean, it's completely different. And I talk about this in many of my other books, like The Tethers and The Temptation of John Haynes, and many of my books. I go into the actual black culture, but, many of these Africans, they don't really know the actual black culture, but they want to say our culture is toxic. No, our culture is the foundation of America. I mean, it was our work ethic. I'll repeat it once more. Our work ethic built this country, because black people worked so hard. I mean, even if you look at the legend of John Henry, black men were, again, hard workers, and when even during and after slavery. And again, black men, again, we are hard workers, but they don't want to see that, because, again, these white supremacists want to project their insecurities on us. And this guy, again, shows how he's basically bought and drank the white supremacist poison Kool-Aid, and then goes on to try to go into statistics saying, oh, according to Pew Research, there's an article that says that blacks are seeing a gap between the poor and the middle class, and 64% of black people polled believe immigrants work harder than blacks at low-wage jobs. No, that's not the case at all, because when it comes to Pew Research, again, that's a white nonprofit. Again, there's a reason why there's a growing gap between the poor and the middle class. Is because the white supremacists won't go out here and hire black men. The reason why you see that gap is because when it comes down to the white supremacists, they go out here and will hire the black woman to emasculate the black man and then control the black economy. And they don't want the black man to have any sort of economic power. And I can attest to that, being out of work at a corporation for the last 18 years. I mean, they don't want to see any black person have any sort of economic power whatsoever, because, again, they don't want to compete against black Americans. And as they go into that statistic, this lie that's been told, oh, immigrants work harder than blacks at low-wage jobs. Well, one, immigrants are allowed to have those low-wage jobs because many of us foundational black Americans, like myself, will put in the applications to work in places like Target and many places. Because right now, I have put in 5 applications at Target and got turned down. I put in 2 applications at Trader Joe's and got turned down. And I put in 4 or 5 applications at Burlington and still got turned down, even though I had worked for Burlington during the pandemic. And many of those immigrants are allowed to have job opportunities that many of us foundational black Americans don't get, due to the racism of white supremacy and the way many foreigners are programmed to believe ideas about black people. A lot of them buy into ideas about black people. And I saw this in an interview I just did with Burlington about a week ago. I mean, I finally did manage to get an interview with Burlington after being turned down multiple times. And the Hispanic woman who was interviewing me basically dismissed me as related to things. Again, a lot of people buy into ideas about black people oh, the black man is lazy, the black man is incompetent, because this is the culture white supremacy has taught all over the world. They have basically taught this culture to everyone, and they have everybody believing the idea that immigrants, again, work harder, when in actuality, what I've seen from immigrants in work in places like retail is they do a lot of the stealing, they do a lot of the coming in late, they do a lot of stuff, again, as related to these jobs, and nobody want to talk about how immigrants, again, be working at places and stealing and boosting and doing all type of stuff behind the scenes. No, they don't want to talk about that at all. But they'll say, oh, the black person basically doesn't work hard at these jobs, when that black person is in there coming in early and sometimes staying late. But again, with white supremacy, there's always a cognitive dissonance about black people being at a job because they don't want to compete against us. And I'm repeating that because I want you to understand the reason why a lot of these white supremacists, again, they get upset when they see a black person coming in is because a lot of these folks are mediocre and they would rather work with an immigrant and basically continue to be able to, one, pay them a lower wage because they don't have to pay no unemployment for no immigrant, but they do have to for a black American. And two, they know that they can keep their smooth world where they don't have to compete against this black person and worry about this black person possibly taking their job. That's the thing that, again, is what has them creating this false perception. Oh, immigrants work harder than black people at low-wage jobs. Again, I've applied for dozens of those low-wage jobs over the last 18 years, and again, always got turned down because many of these people buy into these stereotypes. Oh, this person, there's something wrong with them because they're black. They look for things to find wrong with a black person. Now, as this guy goes on with these twisted statistics, he goes on to say, according to statistics from 2007, 66% of people polled believe blacks are responsible for their own condition. No, when you have white supremacists going out here and rigging the game with things like HR brick walls, things like going out here and denying black people opportunities to be able to get full-time work, and that's, again, how can you be responsible when you go out here and make every effort? And I know this for a fact. I made every effort to go out here and find work. But the thing you run into, again, are a lot of racists who, again, go out here and project their ideas onto you. They project their ideas onto you. And sadly, among those people are non-blacks and Africans and other types of people. They'll project all of these white supremacist ideas onto you. And as they project these ideas onto you, you basically are stereotyped before you even walk into the room. And it's something that's hard to get over. I mean, I tried for years to show people with all the books that I published. I was trying to show people, I'm trying to be consistent by showing you, hey, I'm publishing 3 to 5 books a year. But, people don't want to see anything, again, positive about black people. No, when it comes down to the black man, you can come in here and, again, do incredible work because, again, writing 3 to 5 books a year, that's something most people don't do. Most people can't even get 1 book done, but that's not enough for many of these employers to show that you are diligent and you are hardworking. And you're doing this, you're writing 3 to 5 books a year, you're writing 3 blogs a week, and making multiple videos every day. I mean, that's not enough for people as related to showing your work ethic. And that's the thing that we have to deal with as foundational black Americans. Oh, you're not taking responsibility. Again, these are white supremacist talking points. And now he goes on to say, out of the poll, 53% of black people polled believe that no, a lot of these people have been brainwashed by white supremacy. Now he goes and says he was called the N-word walking down the street and have been insulted by a black American person. Well, I'm sorry that happened, but the whole thing is those white people call you worse than that. And when they get behind closed doors, now this guy again then further goes on to talk about how he has been insulted and said that he has been aged by a Black American person. Again, I'm sorry about that, but that's just, again, life in America when you're dealing with some of these folks out here. Now, this guy further goes on to talk about a YouTuber called Nana Kawaka who talks about this and transitional trade and says the reason why a lot of Black Americans aren't doing well is themselves. No, when it comes down to a lot of Black Americans, it's hard to do well because when it comes down to our schools are underfunded. When it comes down to, again, the job market, many employers project their racist stereotypes onto us. Again, I'm a guy who graduated from college with a 3.95 GPA. I was at the top of my class, and I found it hard to find work because many of these employers, what they do when you go out here and show excellence, they go out here and move the goalpost. Oh, you did well in school. Well, where's your work experience? And then you show them work experience. Oh, it's not the right type of work experience. This is the type of stuff us foundational Black Americans deal with every day. Again, we want to do well, but when you're dealing with a white supremacist system, it goes out here and looks to impede you at every moment. I mean, even when you do go out here and do things, you not only have to deal with the white supremacists, you have to deal with the program people like the Black bootlicks, which I dealt with when I was working at that nonprofit at AmeriCorps Vista. I mean, I came in there and did excellent work, and I was told, oh, we have no place for you in our organization. I mean, basically, when their organization was falling apart, I helped them be able to keep many of their departments going, basically being a volunteer, but they have no place for me as related to being a paid employee. Again, we go out here and give our best to people, but they don't appreciate anything we do. And when it comes down to these folks, they rather live in the fantasy that white supremacy has created about Black people and say, oh, they're not doing well because of them. No, you create barriers against Black people and create walls to keep Black people out. And the only Black people you keep in are these gatekeepers and these buffers that they use to keep Black people down. Again, out here about things. Now he further goes on to talk about Professor Black Truth, who is Jason Black, which no, that's not the case. Professor Black Truth is a different person from Jason Black, and said he called his people Liberian Tethers because they bought Essence. Well, yeah, they bought Essence and they were looking to make Essence African. Okay, they made Essence African. And what happened to Essence? Essence became African and Essence became irrelevant because Essence wasn't going out here and selling to FBA. And I remember Essence magazine when it first got founded. It was founded by the late Gordon Parks and Susan Taylor to be a magazine to show positive images of Black women and present empowering messages of Black women. But sadly, what happened to Essence is a group of Black feminists wound up taking it over. And after the Black feminists took it over, basically sales declined. And after those sales declined, the magazine was sold to many of these Liberians. And they basically, after they took over the magazine, that's when the whole magazine basically got lost because most of the foundational Black American women, they basically didn't relate to the messages in Essence, starting with the Black feminist agenda. Many of our sisters, they're not down with no Black feminism, even though many brothers don't believe that. A lot of our sisters really ain't down with no white Black feminism or white feminism because they know that feminism is just white supremacy in a skirt. And when it comes down to our sisters, they were with Essence until Essence basically turned on the sisters. And that's why Essence Fest basically became forgotten because, again, they went out here and focused on mostly, again, Liberians and Africans. Okay, it's an African magazine, so we let the Africans go out here and support their magazine, and nobody showed up. I mean, nobody showed up for Essence, and that's why Essence Fest is in debt right now. That's why Essence Fest basically, again, fell completely apart. That's what this viewer doesn't understand. Again, Professor Black Truth was only stating facts I myself stated in a video because, again, I've been studying the entertainment industry for over 25 years. I've been a publisher for 18 years, and I know what happened to Essence. The same thing that basically, again, happened to many of our publications because we had a group of Black folks who, again, didn't take care of their business. And again, when it came down to that business, they didn't take care of things. Now, he further goes on to talk about not only talking about Essence Fest as related to things, wants to go and talk about how, according to ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, African immigrants and their children may own 40 to 40% of Black-owned business. That don't even make no sense. I mean, talking about how we're going to own things like logistics and beauty supply. No, the Koreans already own the beauty supply business because a group of Black Americans didn't take care of business, and wants to talk about how Black Americans are out here, and again, as related to things, and further goes on to go out here and make the statement talking about how you're supposed to talk endlessly about white supremacy, and wants to believe the delusion that white supremacy can easily be defeated if you do the right things. No, when it comes down to the institution of white supremacy, it can't be easily defeated by just doing certain things. No, this is a global system and a global frame of thinking that has been conditioned over the centuries, and it's not something that's going to be easily defeated. Now, we saw cracks in that system, starting with the riots that took place after the murder of George Floyd, because many of these white supremacists basically overplayed their hand during the pandemic. And I basically saw that when they did those COVID lockdowns. I said, all it takes is one Black person getting killed to set everything off in this country. I knew that this was a powder keg about to blow up, and the murder of George Floyd basically proved my point that one murder of a Black man as related to these COVID lockdowns, which were getting more and more extreme with people like Gretchen Whitmer denying people to buy Easter candy at Target. Basically, this thing was a kindling, again, as related to a powder keg, and it wound up exploding. And as it exploded, that's when these white supremacists basically got shook, because they saw all them Black people coming out in them streets, ready to go out here and fight for their freedom. They were out here ready to fight for their freedom, and those bastards got so shook that they basically started backing down. And had we pushed even harder, basically could have pushed these white supremacists all the way down. But the whole thing is that this guy basically is delusional to think, oh, you're going to easily defeat white supremacy. No, there's so many ways that this country insidiously programs people with white supremacy that you don't even see in anything. I mean, it's insidious, again, as related to our mindset and our perception of self. And it's going to take generations to, again, start looking to exploit those cracks that the riots of 2020 opened as related to that whole system. And we are seeing those cracks in the system, but it's going to take time to do this. And again, this guy sitting up here talking about, oh, you can easily defeat white supremacy. Good luck with that, because again, how do you defeat a global system that you yourself have basically bought into? You basically have bought into this system of white supremacy based on what you wrote in this letter. And he wants to say, I would love to help Black Americans reach their full potential, but after the video you did, I realized some of you guys are racist and xenophobic. Well, how am I racist and xenophobic for calling out a group of juvenile delinquents who went out here and violated a 12-year-old girl? No, I'm going to go out here and look to delineate as related to those delinquents, because I don't want Black people to be seen as the face of sexual predation. I don't want Black children to be seen as the face of this type of deviant crime, because Black people have basically suffered lynchings and basically been imprisoned for crimes they didn't commit, all based on this stereotype that right racists have gone out here and presented regarding Black boys and Black men. And the sad part and disturbing part about this is this guy is going to go out here and stand behind a group of foreign-born sexual predators as related, who are, again, juvenile delinquents. And while that's the thing in many of these countries, based on what white conservatives like Paul Joseph Watson have presented in multiple videos. Go watch some Paul Joseph Watson videos where he goes out here and shows you many of the African migrants in countries like Europe participating in these type of sex crimes, and is unabashed about it. He'll show you these type of crimes, and he goes out here and makes those black Africans the face of sexual predation in many of his videos. And this guy wants to go out here, like many other people, they want to go out here and say, oh, black people are being xenophobic about, again, alienation. Well, we're not being xenophobic. No, not being xenophobic at all. And this guy, I really don't think even knows what the term xenophobia is, because when we look at the term xenophobia, I mean, that term in and of itself means a fear of or dislike of people who are perceived as foreign and strange. No, we ain't afraid of Africans or any other black people from other countries because they're foreign or strange. So get out of here with that shaming language. No, we basically see the truth about the actions of some people who are black from other countries, and we're just telling the truth as related to things. We don't have an us versus them mentality, because when it comes down to many foundational black Americans, we have opened the door for many brothers and sisters from other countries. I mean, the artist that did my John Haynes cover was a black guy from the UK, and I've worked with many black people from other countries for many years. I even have readers from other countries for many years. But when it comes down to accountability, yeah, I'm going to hold people accountable for their actions. And when it comes down to us foundational black Americans, what we're doing is delineating so that we can go out here and stand as a stronger group, because we've had many other groups go out here and be opportunists as related to things like the so-called Black and Brown Coalition. They go out here and they get we go out here and do all the work. They get all the tangibles. Then what they do is close ranks, like we saw here in the Bronx. Many of us black people, we went out here, we were protesting, we were marching, we were demanding things, and we formed that Black-Brown Coalition. And what happened was Fernando Ferrer became the Bronx Borough president, and many of the Hispanics wound up taking most of the jobs, and most of us foundational black Americans got nothing. Meanwhile, the Bronx became more and more Hispanic, and black people basically were closed out of our own community. And we saw the same thing go on in Harlem. So we're delineating from these groups, because many of these groups, again, they'll go out here, have us do the work. They'll get the tangibles, and we'll get nothing at all. And when it comes down to many of these groups, what many foundational black Americans were looking to do is go out here and delineate, so that we to be seen as first as related to things. So that's what we're looking to do as related to things. So as related to things, we're looking to go out here and do things for ourselves. So that's what us foundational black Americans are looking to do as related to ourselves. So that's what we're doing out here. But when it comes down to many of these folks, they basically are looking to, again, go out to start with us and try to, again, make us look like we're the bad guys. But we're not the bad guys here. No, we're not the bad guys at all as related to things. We're just standing up for ourselves. And again, standing up for ourselves as related to going out here and delineating. We're going out here and, again, letting them be the ones held accountable for their own actions. And that's the thing that makes these guys upset. That makes them upset because we're standing up for ourselves. Now, this guy wants to further go on and say, I will not be supposed of my future wife is black or black or non-black American, and I don't need to watch the video to know your white slab master. I mean, this guy can't even spell, taught you to hate. And again, all of this because I called out a group of sexual predators and again was looking to hold these folks accountable. That's what I was looking to do. Again, look to hold these sexual predators accountable for the crime that they did, allegedly. And again, this is what I'm trying to do because that's what they say happens in many of those African countries and even in some of those European countries. If you watch old Paul Joseph Watson videos, he goes and says, "Oh, this is the stuff that goes on." And again, he ain't got no smoke for a Paul Joseph Watson or any of those white conservatives. Ain't got a word to say to them. But you want to unsub my channel all because I make one video. Again, one video that basically went out here and was making a commentary as related to things. I mean, I'm just making a commentary about what happened as related to this 12-year-old girl. And this guy basically standing at the side of these predators, all because they were foreign-born blacks. And again, that really, again, is really something that's disturbing to me as related to things. You would stand at the side of a non-black sexual predator instead of the man calling it out. And I called it out basically as a man crisis video because the type of guys who participate in this type of behavior are in and of themselves sick. I mean, if you've got a 12-year, if you've got a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 14-year-old, again, going out here and doing stuff like this, I mean, this is a child who basically is, as I see it, maladjusted and a delinquent who nobody in their right mind would go out here and defend. I mean, this is what this is, and again, what they do this type of stuff because they know, hey, I can go into the black community and again go out here and the black people will take the brunt. But black people in new black media, we're not allowing people to go out here and make us the face of crimes we did not commit. No, that's what Professor Black Truth did in a classic video where he talked about that shooter who basically went and shot up that bar in Texas. And he also talked about that crime. I mean, he talked about both of those crimes, again, wanting people to know that it was not foundational black Americans who committed either of those crimes. I mean, one of these guys, again, he had on a shirt that basically was talking about, how he was property of Allah, as he was an immigrant who came here and was living in this very neighborhood I'm living in right now. I'm sorry, it's the sinuses. He was living in the same neighborhood I am before he wound up traveling all the way to Texas. And again, this is what we have to deal with out here. A lot of people they want to be able to have us as a shield. They want to be able to have us as a cover. They want to be able to say, oh, we can go out here and again go stand behind black people when they go out here and do their wrong. But when we go out here and say, no, you're not going to stand behind us as you're doing your dirt, this is when they get upset about things. That's when they start getting in their feelings. And this whole letter this viewer sent me is a textbook example of this. Again, grown men who basically hear opinions they don't like. Basically, they just say, okay, I'm just not going to watch the content and understand, okay, and again, this is what healthy people do. I don't even think this dude even watched the video. He just got upset because I called them 3 teen tethers. And again, that just shows how immature they are, getting in your feelings, again, because you're hearing things that you don't like. Well, we hear things in foundational Black America. We hear things we don't like for years and even centuries, but we still going on. And it really shows the difference between the resolve of a foundational Black American and a person from another country. I mean, when it comes down to content we don't like, we don't sit here and again get upset about it. We just go out here and click out and keep it pushing. That's been my policy for many years. Okay, I basically heard some stuff I don't like, and I just keep it pushing. But when I look at this dude, again, it's just no different than them passport bros back in 2019. And again, them passport bros, they were acting all crazy like this, all because I was trying to, again, look out for the young brothers, because I saw Bakari Henderson lose his life because he thought, I'll go overseas. And he didn't know the rules of racism and white supremacy. He went over to that country, Greece, and ran into those Serbians, thinking, oh, I can go out here and mess with their women. And what happened to Bakari Henderson is that young man wound up losing his life and still hasn't seen justice to this day, showing how white supremacy is global, because the Henderson family, again, still hasn't seen justice to this day. And sadly, in the case of those black men, they got upset because I called out that whole passport narrative, because I was looking to save lives of brothers out here, but they didn't appreciate it. And then in this case, it's the same thing. Viewer gets upset over something that I had said that was trying to help people. Again, I'm trying to make this video to, again, let people know about the deviancy that is turning our black boys into juvenile delinquents, turning black boys, again, and presenting images of black people that are going to be seen globally. I mean, because when these guys participate in these acts, what the white media does is they don't delineate and say, oh, that's a Haitian kid who did that. That's a foreign-born black. No, they say it's black people and then use black Americans as the face of sexual predation. That's what they do in the cases of crimes like this. And that's one of the things that, again, makes it a danger for us when people commit these type of crimes. I mean, that's what they do. And again, Paul Joseph Watson, again, goes on in many of his videos and will show you, again, many of these Africans and other migrants from these other countries, again, presenting black people as the face of these type of crimes. You ain't mad at them, ain't unsubbing Paul Joseph Watson, a white English conservative, that he got smoked for a black man. Again, this is what happens when it comes down to, again, foundational black Americans. When we stand up for ourselves, many of these people want to get out here and get upset at a black man for standing up for being black and standing up for doing what's right. I mean, that's what I've run into as related to these type of videos. And I mean, I find it really sad because I was trying to build a bridge with this dude, and I thought he was genuine about building a bridge, but he let himself get in his feelings because I call, again, these predators tethers, because, again, these predators are repeated once more. We're tethering themselves to the black community and hoping to use the black community to be the face of this crime. And then if they were to able to get out, these same kids, when they grow up, would go out here and say that they are of a different race, and then use that to go out there to get themselves jobs and cover up everything. Again, they would go out here and look to use that type of cover. And again, that's what they do out here. But the whole thing is that I looked at this letter and I shook my head because it was a sad state of affairs. Again, I thought I could build a bridge with this guy, but there was no building a bridge. And I'm starting to see why foundational black Americans are closing our ranks more and more. We're closing our ranks because we see that when it comes to all of these other groups, they want the benefits of being black, but they want to stay within the system of white supremacy. They want to be the black face as related to getting opportunities at the expense of black people, but won't give a single opportunity to one of us foundational black Americans whatsoever, won't go out here and look to lift a finger towards helping another foundational black American in this country because they've bought into all the ideas and stereotypes that white supremacy has told them about black people and believe the ideas that white supremacy has told them about black people like the gospel truth, because when it comes down to a lot of these folks, they, like the late David Carroll has said, deify and worship white people and basically have such love for white people. That's what I've seen from a lot of the other blacks from other parts of the world. They have this love and worship of black people as related to things. And as they have this love and worship of white people, anything they believe that a white person says is true is true. And I've seen that as related to things, as related to a recent video I did talking about all those black folks sitting up here complaining that DC Comics ain't made no black comics. I mean, with a black character. I'm sitting there going, you're talking about DC Comics ain't made no comic featuring a black character in 1,000 days. Well, I grew up in the 80s where we were just lucky if we got to see Cyborg or Vixen in a comic at all, or Storm in a comic at all. And we just basically appreciated seeing just one black character. And you're living in a golden age where we basically have black characters in comics everywhere, in independent black comics. But I don't want to spend no money on a black independent comic. I don't want to spend no money on a black person. That's what a lot of these black comic fans be saying, with their actions. Oh, I don't want to buy the comic by the black creator that creates their own stuff, but I'm waiting for this white company to go out here and make a book that they basically don't even buy. Because I recently saw books like The Power Company and many others that were made. And again, black folks sit there and will sit there and say, oh, I want this series, but don't show up. No, they only show up when the black character is associated with a white character. And again, this is the deep self-hatred many of us have, and it just shows the deep frame of related to how it spellbinds our thinking. Again, we only see black as related to white. We only see black as related to gaining white acceptance. And again, when it comes down to many foreign-born blacks, they basically, again, don't see how they have been programmed by the system of white supremacy to work against themselves by going out here and attacking black Americans. Again, they're buying the same ideas that are out here related to black Americans that many white supremacists say. And it was sad to see this guy who talked about building bridges with me go into this whole white supremacist rant. I mean, a lot of these talking points were just the same white supremacist talking points, and we're all out here again and again going into this all because I called a group of, again, sexual predators, the Tethers that they were. And again, nobody wants to be associated with these type of individuals again. And again, it just was really sad all around to again have to deal with this email. And again, I wanted to share it with everyone to show everyone, when it comes down to trying to build bridges, the toughest thing is you don't know what people are thinking until they just show you their true colors. Now, before I get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, I'm going to, again, show you guys the recent cover that I did with a black person from the UK. Again, Des Taylor did a fantastic job on the cover for John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. And I wanted to show everybody that cover, on here so that you guys could go out here and start putting in your pre-orders for John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. I mean, this is the new book. It's coming out on March 27th. And I want you guys to start getting your money ready to pick up, John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. I mean, sorry. So this book will be it's up for pre-order on Amazon's Kindle and will be coming to Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you'll be able to read John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse, for free. And the paperback will be coming on March 27th. So guys, be on the lookout for that book. And I also have a list of all the books on my Patreon and my blog. So you'll be able to put in pre-orders for all the books of the SJS Direct 2026 catalog. All the books will be available there, and you can put in your order for the books. And you can also, again, be able to check out this book. Again, Des Taylor is a great artist, black artist from the UK, did a fantastic job on this book. And again, I've worked with many foreign-born blacks and blacks from other countries, had no problem with them. But this viewer, again, wanted to get upset because I called, again, a group of sick kids who, again, were out here doing this situation, again, that was detrimental to black people, the tethers that they were, because again, they want to tie themselves to black people. And again, they don't understand that the crime that they were committing, again, was going to hurt foundational black Americans. And this guy just got in his feelings about the whole situation. But I wanted to, again, clear the record for everyone here with this live stream. I had planned a video, but I decided to do a live stream instead to go in depth on this. So I'm getting ready to wrap up tonight's show. And again, this is the cover for the John Haynes An Offer He Can't Refuse book that's coming out on March 27th. Again, put that date down as related to that book. And other books are going to be coming. The ISIS and Esteem books will be coming. Again, April 17th, it's going to be ISIS Runway of Doom. And on May 15th, it's going to be Esteem, A New Woman. Those books will be coming soon. And again, want everybody to get a look at John Haynes' offer he can't refuse. And I also want to let everyone know that, I'm continuing to recover from this heart attack, continuing to go on and try to persevere out here as related to keeping things going, trying to follow what God has told me. So I'm still trying to stay in the game. And the way I can stay in the game is with the help of people like the recent viewer who dropped the super chat, Wall Street Tech. Thank you for the super chat. As related to things you said, short order tetanus, something like that. But the whole thing is, I thank you for the super chat. And the other ways you can help is by picking up many of the other books in the SJS Direct catalog, like last year's John Haynes book, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. This one deals with an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule. I talk about the Black Boule and how they are, again, another group of oppressive people who look to oppress black people in this story. A lot of people don't really know much about black culture and how we have groups like the Black Bourgeoisie, the Black Boule, and how they look to oppress black people by supporting white supremacy. And I go into that in this book. And I have other books like Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. This was the 2025 Esteem series book. I pay homage to the late John Romita's iconic Spider-Man cover with this book. And it has a great story about Esteem taking on a wicked teenage witch. And I have other books like the Esteem book from the year before, which was Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. This was a great fun story that picks up on plot points from ISIS Escape from Transylvania. Again, all three of these books and the mammoth and epic Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, which featured Des Taylor's first cover for SJS Direct. This book, again, is a fun book about Matilda having a vacation in the year 2000, and it's a fun book with a great story that shows a black woman having a vacation similar to Audrey Hepburn's Roman Holiday and takes us into the world of goth modeling. All of these books are available on Amazon.com and showcase all the hard work I have done over the last 18 years building up the SJS Direct imprint and improving the quality. I mean, this is the work I have done for so many years as related to my work. And I also have my comic, John Haynes, A Death Story. You can get this comic now on Kindle, and you can also get it digitally on Google Play, and you can also get a paper version on Lulu.com. I mean, this is all the work that I have done. Again, many people out here will say, oh, this guy is lazy. He doesn't work. No, I work hard every day. If I'm not working on videos, I'm working on stories. If I'm not working on stories, I'm working on live streams. I mean, I practically, again, worked myself nearly to death to the point where I had a heart attack last year. That's how hard I have been pushing. But you'll have many of these foreign-born blacks who buy into the ideas of white supremacy to think, oh, this guy is lazy. This guy isn't working. No, I have been grinding for over 18 years behind the scenes, grinding ever since I lost my job in 2008. But it's never enough for people. That's what I always find when I go out here and look for these jobs. You can go out here and put in the work, but if you're not working for a white person, it's not even considered to be work. That's what I find from the spellbound thinking that many people have because they buy into the system of white supremacy that only believes that you're working only if you work for a white person. And That's the frame of thinking many people have out here. They don't think that you're working at all unless you're working for somebody else. And they'll go, oh, well, we can't vouch or verify this, even though there are records of everything on Amazon.com and other online booksellers, records of every book I have written from 2009 and onward, and even books I published before that in 2002 and 2008. There are records of every book I have basically published, but that's not enough for many of these employers who don't think that this is work. They don't think, again, doing YouTube videos is work. They think it's not enough for them. No, they sit there and you can go out here and, again, put in that work for hours on videos, because it takes, again, me 3-4 hours a day to keep making these videos, but it's not enough for a lot of these people. Again, they don't think a black man is working unless he's basically begging on his knees. I mean, that's what they want to see for black people. That's what was really frustrating about being out here. You can go out here and put in the work, but many people won't appreciate it. Like many people, they see, oh, when I go out here and make and promote books, they go, oh, that's not black enough. I mean, this is the frustrating thing about stuff. Now, I don't mean to go into this rant, but it's just what I deal with every day. And again, this guy, again, I was trying to build a bridge with him, but got upset. And again, this is what I have to deal with all the time out here. I mean, I dealt with it with the Passport Bros, dealt with it with Obsidian, and now I'm dealing with it once again. Again, you try to go out here and work with black people, but sadly, they get in their feelings, they get upset over little things, and that keeps us from being able to build the bridges, to be able to work together. And that's the sad part about this whole situation that really is sad to me. Now, I'm going to, again, get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. Everybody, have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.